So here in turn 6 of Eylau, we're seeing the French beginning to position themselves for a few attacks, one of which, at least down here, is required. But just a series of little attacks, all really at 1-to-1. The goal? To push that Russian line a little further. They can take the retreats, they can't... the French can take the retreats, but they couldn't manage a big attack this time, someplace where they could kind of hook in and get a lot of troops. So this is not terribly risky except for the weather die roll. The weather die roll makes this kind of interesting. And it succeeded in some places but not in others because of the small nature of the attacks. Even where it did succeed, for example, here, the French did not advance in because they would be putting a weak unit up where it could easily be destroyed or at least forced to retreat. Again, actually pretty easily destroyed if it was stuck in here. It would be surrounded. So anyway, the goal was to push the Russians back. Now the Russians have to attack if they want to bring their forces forward into positions that they used to be in. That's a harder proposition. They probably will fall back if they don't have an advantageous attack. On the other hand, the French did lose a couple of cities or towns, which would have been useful for defense. On to the Russians. And the Russians have actually set up to get some more a similar number of attacks, but a little higher odds on them. Up here, they've got pretty good odds. Not bad here. Not bad here. They've been able to kind of take advantage of some roughnesses in the French line and some big units to make attacks. We'll see if the French have to use some fresh strength markers to defend themselves here. Well, this was a strange turn for the Russians because they got a lot of equal eliminations, some of which weren't too bad, like, for example, this pair off. They lost exactly what they threw in. But here, big swinging points, and then another one here, painful. Although they gained some ground up in the north, and they kind of busted things away. The French army is looking weaker here. I forgot to move these when you... Just push them up. They didn't move during the French turn, and you know, this is not a game where you can give that kind of advantage easily, I think. But then up here we saw some advances, successful. Pushing up to here and kind of swinging that flank around, just like this one got taken over by the Russians. They're hoping to kind of roll this one up, and that would be very powerful. But then they did something else. They marched right into the Guard. They got a successful hit and said, you know what? I can advance, make the Guard attack me. Right now the Guard's got 18, plus 5 is 23 to 8. That's not quite 3-to-1. If they move another artillery in or use a fresh strength or something, they can get 3-to-1. But so what? 3-to-1 is very unlikely without weather to cause anyone to get hurt. And this unit will retreat, and the Guard's been expended. There goes a chance at that 15-point victory. Because right now, let's see what we got, 10, 15, 23, 30. We're about halfway, not quite, to the points. 75 points. Let's look at what the Russians have lost, though. 14, 18, 30, 37, 38, 40, 54, 57. And throw in then the 10 points on top of that, 67. We're looking at a pretty major blowout at this point. 30-point difference in victory. We're up to the substantial. And, well, there's an extra 15 if we can push the Allies over a significant amount of losses. All right, on to the next turn. And at the very least, on this turn, the Prussians will be coming in from here. So this whole flank is getting to look really scary for the French. They're going to want to get out of there. Okay, so let's look at what the French response is here in, turn 7, just before the Prussians come in. Well, they've been able to get some of Murat's troops up to attack here, maybe push this back, give themselves a little bit of respite, and trying to hold some kind of line here, but this Lev unit here is not a very good it's in a dangerous location for such a weak unit, and that's maybe not the best I could have done, but it really couldn't have done much better, and there's a danger of cutting everything off there. Here, got these two focusing on here. Have the guard, they're going to have to fight, and I've got some of this artillery coming in to help. And over here I've been able to concentrate a couple of places where I've actually got a little bit of additional strength in place. Make some rolls, see what happens. Well, things couldn't have gone more wrong for the French. The weather. Blame it on the weather. Murat got a retreat. Eliminated. Got dock in place. Well, the same damn thing happened to the Imperial Guard. It's wiped out. That's 21 strengths of guard. This is what's amazing about this scenario for me. Only with that optional roll for the weather. But it's just, you know, that was not a terrible attack by the French. In fact, it was a 3-to-1 attack. But there's still an attack or retreat, and there's still a chance that can turn into an eliminated, and it did. That's a 1 in 36 chance that something that extreme could happen. But hey, the Russians will take it. They moved up, they've taken Eylau, and they're going to be in position to start an attack and kind of grab maybe both sides of Eylau now and change the whole nature of this battle. It looks like the French just lost all at once. This says 12-12. It's actually 12-13, I guess. And we'll give that over to the Russians. Well, things were so severe there that the Russians had to... They weren't prepared for this kind of thing, so there was some serious counter-marching going on with units swarming into place. They can't make the attack here, but they're going to... and if they had set up differently, they could have made both, probably. But they're going to make the attack here. One hex of Eylau. They'll be able to get the other one eventually, one would presume, because the French don't really have a lot along the edge there. We'll see. But they're also making attacks elsewhere. Remember, they've always had kind of this slight advantage in terms of the strength. And then down here, they really can show a lot of strength. And then we got the Prussians coming on. They're coming up the behind. Now, what's dangerous here is the French have a big stack of units coming in from that same hex. It'll be coming in behind the Prussians there, chasing them. Here's our final position. A little bit of casualties here. The Russians had a bad trade-off again. But they got a good result as well over here. I think they had a reverse here. They only lost this 1-point dock unit up here because the artillery was providing most of the firepower. And over here kind of mixed results. That's why they took their loss, so that's kind of painful. Anyway, I'm going to be going on and seeing another French unit. Well, after the extreme setbacks, Napoleon's trying to regain some kind of control over the situation, pushing his way into Eylau with attacks there, as well as up in the north more. But he's lost over here completely. Actually, this is the north. He's lost completely on the north. Over to the east, anywhere to the south, he's fine, but to the north, that whole side of the board has been destroyed. He's going to have to make a really awful attack at 1-6. Of course, the weather might just change things. The dock unit might end up shooting itself to death. Speak of the devil, another 1 in 36 chancer, eh? Actually, it's not here, because there's 4 attacker eliminated choices here, which could have come up, and only and a 1 in 6 chance of swinging that over. So it's actually almost a 1 in 6 chance of that happening. A little bit worse than that, right? 2/3 of that, so 2 in 18, 1 in 9 chance. And yeah, it was destroyed. We also see this unit forced to retreat, and they've got nowhere they can retreat because there's zones all around them. So they're going to be popped as well. And, you know, from there, we'll see what else happens. I gotta decide if I want to advance there, and what the heck. French actually did quite well, taking the rest of Eylau, pushing inward. Not only this attack, but everywhere. Pretty much their attack succeeded, pushing things down in every direction. And this is kind of painful for the Russians. They're going to have to make a lot of counterattacks because they're already forced into them here. How they're going to respond to that, we'll see. Here's the setup for the Russian attacks. One thing that maybe I didn't make clear, artillery can bombard on their own. So that's what's going to happen here, and that's really great because it means there's no danger. The artillery can't be hurt by that, even with the weather rules. They're not going to shoot themselves. Elsewhere, trying to get a little force here. We got the Prussians moving up, but remember the French are coming in with another fairly large force right from back here behind them. Up here, this is going to be more trouble. I've tried to push as much strength as I can into place, but it's rough when you're forced into these attacks this way. Oh, forgot about rolling that one, but the casualties are piling up everywhere else. I'll make that quick attack there. 6-1, 4, defender retreat, 5. That switches to a defender eliminated. They're dead. Really, the Russians were successful across the board, not just there, but they pushed forward here. Here they got knocked back out of the woods here. It's kind of painful, but they took the hill here, destroyed a unit there. It's looking pretty bad for the French, really. And you can see the line, it's really decreased. Yes, the Russians have taken their losses too. We'll see what the count is like, actually, when we finish up the vid. But I'm going to do the one more turn before we do that, I think. Here's our position with the French charging up behind the Prussians. Good sized force. There's definitely a problem there. The Prussians have to kind of worry. But facing's not an issue in this game, so it's a little less troublesome than in some games. Still, you don't want to get surrounded. That's the biggie. So they got to hook up with the Russians and kind of form a line there, and then everything's all good. Over here we got the French attacking up in the north. Here where they're stuck attacking. Here as well they had to throw more forces in, but here they made a discretionary attack on the Tut unit. Finishing position here, a little bit of French advance here. Here they knocked people forward but didn't take any room, and here they got pushed back. On to the Russians. And the Russians are finishing up, taking a little bit of a risk, moving together with the Prussians here to try to crush and capture Eylau by going around both sides while these are coming forward on. Might be a little risky. Over here, a little bit more attacking. Odds attacks here, just getting some good odds. Maybe, what happens is if you can get the other guy to retreat, you're more likely to luck out from weather. So those low odds attacks are kind of cool because they can kill things in this. When we go to Dresden, they're not going to happen as much. They're not as interesting. The Russians definitely had some success here. Yes, they got pushed back here, but here they were able to bust in. They were able to kill a big unit over here. Here they pushed forward, but they didn't gain anything. They didn't they didn't actually move forward into the ground they took, which is often the case. I'm going to do a quick count, come back, and then we'll load this up. Okay, so the French have lost 84, and the Russians have lost 81 so far. Really, pretty much a draw at this point. We're talking about a 3-point difference. The 10 points for Eylau still keep it within that draw range. What else is there? Well, both sides have the 15 points for having driven the opponent over 75. So it just stays there. The question here is, well, can either side get enough in the remaining 3 turns to score at least a marginal victory? Remember, this was a substantial French victory for a while, though, until that turnaround. The weather got bad, right? All right, up this one goes.